Rosie, medicine time.
I hate my medicine. Yeah, well, it tastes bad. Well, it keeps you alive. It keeps me alive, but if I chew it, it tastes bad.
Well, don't chew it.
In almost every country, children are born with ambiguous genitalia. And many are being operated on without their consent.
In terms of the surgery, they removed the penis.
Walitoa. Sasa hata mtu anaweza kasirika, tuwezi taka kuwaona. Gimera malihe mwana uyu to niwe mamuthukirie.
But attitudes are changing. More people around the world are pushing to stop what they say are unnecessary surgeries. The movement draws different arguments from doctors.
The discussion we had with the family, where we're saying we're not going to do anything permanent, the parents felt we had disappointed them.
But that's just focusing on that small aspect of health. And that's not necessarily looking at psychology, the social impact of it.
I'm in Milwaukee, an American city on the shores of Lake Michigan. It's famous for the Fonz, its cheese and beer. I'm here to meet the Lohman family.
Hey! How's it going?
Take it out, Rosebud.
Hi, my name is Rosie.
No, sit still. Remember I told you, sit up nice and straight.
Talk normal, no baby talk.
Hi, my name is Rosie.
Rosie is frequently mistaken for a boy, and she knows how to weather that herself. She is capable of taking care of it. She does frequently say, I'm a girl. My name is Rosie.
Oh, Pikachu. Nice.
Rosie was born intersex. It's an umbrella term that describes people who are born with a variety of characteristics that don't fit into traditional conceptions of female or male bodies. Rosie was born 6 years ago with ambiguous genitalia. The UN believe as high as 1.7% of the world are born with intersex traits. That's roughly the same as people with red hair.
Oh yeah, there's a Harry Potter one of those.
There's Harry Potter, and is that Ron?
Yeah, Ron and the wizard chest.
Oh yeah. And then there's a button here.
Yep.
Can I press it?
Harry, it's you that has to go on. I know
That's
it.
Ron.
Not me.
Like many other 6-year-olds, Rosie loves Harry Potter.
I love Harry Potter.
She even has a dog named Dobby.
This is Grandpa's Dobby, and ours is upstairs.
When she was born, the room fell silent for several minutes as nurses examined her.
A doctor came over and said, sometimes babies are born and they're not quite a boy, they're not quite a girl.
There are instances where surgery is needed for intersex traits. If there's a chance of developing cancer or if there's a problem passing urine or opening bowels. Rosie would need to take daily medication, but she didn't need to have surgery. Doctors still strongly advised on reducing the size of Rosie's clitoris and creating a vaginal opening.
And that was his only recommendations. And so I'd asked, well, like, what about the very obvious plan of doing nothing?
That sign that said God loves people. Almost 8,000 miles away, in Kenya's capital Nairobi, most intersex or DSD people still live in the shadows. Killings of intersex-bodied children still occur in rural areas. 14 years ago, Anne gave birth to a child that had what looked like a penis and a vagina.
Nilichanganyikiwa juu nilishindwa mtoto wangu ni kijana ama ni msichana. So nilichanganyikiwa juu sababu nilijifungulia kwa nyumba. Nilizaa kwa nyumba yeye. Ndio nikawauliza ni nini naendelea, ni nini mtoto. Wakaniambia hawajui kama ni msichana ama ni kijana, lazima afanyiwe testing. Ndio nikaanza process ya hospitali sasa.
At the hospital, doctors told Anne that surgery was the best option and that her child would be better off with his penis removed.
Sema mtoto ni msichana.
So you're saying that the doctor didn't give you a choice? They decided that they were going to do the surgery to make your child a girl?
Lakini kuuliza maswali hawataki kuulizwa. Sasa ilibidi mimi ninyamaze.
But as John grew up, he told Anne that he isn't a girl.
Najisikianga kama kijana.
The surgery, which was more than a year's salary for Anne, is irreversible. The pressure took a toll on the family. Struggling with his identity, John has tried to take his life more than once.
Right. I can't do it. What was that?
John and Anne are being supported by the Intersex Persons Society of Kenya. Using social media, they have managed to connect with hundreds of intersex people.
Oh, so you go from the county to the village?
To the village now.
I jump in a van with one activist to go to a closed-room meeting in a rural community.
We are approaching Murang'a town, just 5 minutes to Murang'a town, where we produce so much tea. Today, I'm expecting between 10 to 15 people.
Just a few years ago, meetings like these were unheard of in Kenya. But all that changed with one mother's fight. Catherine gave birth to an intersex-bodied child in 2009. This is her first interview.
Hiyo wakati sikuelewa sasa uko peke yako unashindwa sasa utafanya nini? Kuzio group yenye alikuwa ananiweka kusema we ni malaya nini. Sasa nikashindwa hiyo kazi ya umalaya nilikuwa naenda saa ngapi? Sasa nikanunua nikaiweka kwa chakula. Nakumbuka ilikuwa maharagwe. Baadaye nikajiuliza kwa nini ninafanya hivi? Nikaenda nikabeba hiyo chakula nikaweka kwa takataka huko. Mtoto hakukula na sikukula.
Catherine's child, known as Baby A, had been assigned a question mark in their hospital documents, which meant that they couldn't register to go to school. She started a high court case for a recognised third identity option: M for male, F for female, and I for intersex. Concluding Baby A's case, the High Court ordered that a task force be set up to look into the rights of intersex or DSD people in Kenya. I've arranged to meet Mr. Mbage Nganga, the chair of the task force.
So one of the recommendations is to ensure that as much as possible any surgical interventions are only undertaken when the intersex person himself has given their informed consent. Our report, which is actually this draft report.
Is this a report? Can I have a look? Yeah. People born in intersex bodies existed even in biblical times.
Yes, that is it.
So here's a quote from Matthew where you say,
The report, compiled with the help of activists, makes religious references.
For the sake of the kingdom of heaven, the one who can accept this should accept it.
Baby A's story started a conversation in Kenya that's now reached the medical and political community. One central talking point has been that doctors encouraged surgery where it wasn't necessary. So I visited Joyce Mbogo, one of Kenya's 7 paediatric urologists at the hospital Aga Khan.
Nice to meet you. I'm Megha. Thank you so much for speaking with me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Do you feel the medical community owes these families an apology?
One of the hardest things is to be able to say sorry when you have done something wrong. Not many people understood this disorder, and therefore I believe there were many wrong decisions that were made during that period of time. And to those families, I don't know, I can only say I apologize for that. But what we can say is that for whatever mistakes that we did, we're here to work with you and see how we can correct the mistakes.
Are you feeling emotional?
Yes, sorry.
How come?
Well, it's because it's sad. I mean, the discussion we had with the family where we're saying we're not going to do anything permanent, the parents felt we had disappointed them. Here we are knowing we're really protecting the child when we are saying this, but understanding that the challenge is tough. I mean, it's one thing to say in these 4 worlds that you're not going to do anything permanent, but it's another thing to encourage them to make sure that they provide that love and support of that child so they can flourish. Because you know what, I would not tell that that individual could not be the next president.
But if you're under the impression that these often irreversible surgeries on intersex or DSD children are happening purely in countries south of the equator, you're mistaken. Apart from Malta, which outright banned these surgeries on children in 2015, most countries, including America and the UK, still do them.
We're sex assigning children.
Holly Greenbury is the co-founder of Intersex UK, campaigning for changes in surgery.
We're genitally operating on children with pretty significant and severe levels of surgery to maybe remedy something which didn't need remedying in the first place because there wasn't a healthcare issue, which has in many cases huge detrimental impact on that child's teenage years or their young adulthood and later on in life too.
But that's just focusing on that small aspect of health, and that's not necessarily looking at psychology, the social impact of it. Absolutely.
Mark Woodward will be the chair of the NHS England review of surgery on intersex people.
Of the numbers of surgeries that are happening on DSD children in the UK, how many of those are necessary medically?
It looks like roughly 150 children a year are assessed in as new patients with DSD, and maybe between 20 and 40 surgical procedures a year in the whole of the UK, so we're talking about relatively small numbers.
And of those 20 and 30 who are having surgery, how many of those would you estimate are absolutely required to happen at childhood?
Yeah, so I mean that is the big question. It's if you said, are these procedures absolutely medically necessary, i.e. is a child going to come to harm if they don't have surgery? Well, that number would be not that whole group, it would be smaller than that.
So while the majority of UK surgeries on intersex or DSD children are not medically needed, Mark Woodward, like Joyce and Bogo in Kenya, says it is often the parents pushing for them.
So yeah, so sometimes when you hear people talking about surgery, it's as if we, as surgeons, are kind of dragging the children out of the parents' arms and doing the surgery, somehow against what the parents want. I mean, that has never been my experience of the UK approach to DSD. I mean, I feel, as do most of the people I speak to who are involved, is that our position is we don't want to do any surgery. We'd rather not do any surgery at all. I can imagine some teenagers saying, I wish I hadn't had to make this surgery decision for myself.
But are these imagined scenarios?
Yeah, they're totally imagined. Yeah.
So we don't
we have. Yeah, that's the problem. We have absolutely no idea.
So this is about making your body fit into neat boxes. Perfect male, perfect female. Because if it was anything else, this would not be a conversation that we would even be having.
All of the horror stories we were told Rosie's life was going to be like if we just left her be, and none of which have come true.
It's the same game, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not supposed to have the cards face up there, Rosie. You can see what you're doing, man.
Rosie, have you been looking at the cards? The Lomans in Milwaukee have no idea if Rosie will choose surgery for herself. or if she will thank them for leaving the decision to her.
It pops in your mouth and it feels like so.
Rosie is fine.
She's awesome. Yeah.
Rosie's doing fine.
She's like every other child. So, you know, she has good days, she has bad days. She has days where you're thinking like, what was I thinking? And she has days where she brings utter joy. So she's like every other child. Yeah, raising kids is not for the faint of heart, and Rosie's no different.
Okay, so let's try to word it down.